You'll let the minutes show, Mark, it was only those items that we went into closed session are the only ones that were spoken of or dealt with in closed session. We have no public meetings this morning. We have a consent agenda. Coming. Motion for consent. So I have a motion moved by David Molson and seconded by Mark Rapke. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of West Grey held on January 21st, 2013, and the minutes of the Committee of Whole meeting held on January 28th, 2013 be adopted as printed. And further that the minutes of the West Grey Committees A2 be received as circulated, and further that the minutes of other committees A3 be received as circulated. Are there any questions or comments on the consent motion? Councillor Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did speak to Chairman Rob about the Durham Committee minutes, but I just asked that the manager's report be attached. The other two rep committees, the manager's report is encased in minutes. However, Randy puts in a printed one, so I just asked if it could be attached to the minutes, as well as the number of the vouchers. The voucher number was missing. Two vouchers were, maybe more than that, but the voucher numbers don't show.
I guess I'll ask the chair. Is that possible, Chair Thompson?
Yes, I left that with Carrie on last Monday, I guess, with the voucher numbers. She had forgotten to do that. That was to be in the minutes. I haven't finished them. They're still in my mailbox. They're going to be copied off today and a new copy. That was the one that was, given to Mark, and I'll address that today and get that all straightened out.
And we also suggested say draft until you pass them.
That's what's on there this morning. Those are, I guess that's probably the rough copy of the minutes from the meeting. So you'll get a fresh copy with everything on it properly done today.
And those could be, if there's major changes and what to, we're just receiving them?
Yes.
No. So, yeah.
That was just for future.
Yep, okay. Thank you. Any other comments on the motion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right, Mark, I'll let you hand out the motions that they can take effect. And with that, that moves us down then to communications from Mayor and Council. And do any council members have any communications you want to bring forward? Councillor Eccles, John.
On behalf of Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, I'm pleased to announce that we did have a new general manager for the authority.
Can you repeat that with the microphone so everybody can hear?
I can't remember what he said. on behalf of Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, we're pleased to announce that we have hired Wayne Broman from the town of Durham here to be the general manager of Saugeen Valley.
I take it that he will fill the duties very well. It's taking you a year to find the right man, so you've found the right man. Deputy Mayor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of West Grey, I brought greetings to the Alzheimer's Walk in Hanover last Saturday, and walk was very well attended. Numbers were down slightly, but there were other walks in the area going on that day. And like I said, that debilitating disease we were walking for, I know that people were very enthusiastic and it was organized very well. So on behalf of West Grey, we were very well received.
Anyone else? Just the other thing is there is a media release going out. We had our partners in putting us on the web, I guess is the best way to describe it. YouTube have the first time was on the 21st meeting that we put it out there. I've had some very favorable comments. I had one that wasn't so favorable, but that didn't have anything to do with the content. It had more with the ability to receive our podcast of our council. And thank you very much for doing it the first time and coming back again. Congratulations and thank you. And so that's going out, and for going forward, we'll have all of our council meetings being broadcast. And if anybody is suffering from insomnia or something, it'll be on the web and you can pick it up and it should cure it for you. Certainly not the delegations, but the rest of the stuff that comes forward from a council meeting. I'd just like to say thank you to Deputy Mayor for being at the Alzheimer's. That's the first Alzheimer's walk that I've missed since they started those ones. But I was in Toronto on the weekend welcoming the new Premier of Ontario that was elected last weekend. So it'll be interesting working with the first female Premier of Ontario was Kathleen Wynne, who we've met with a number of times through her ministerial duties, from municipal affairs to MTO to she was Minister of Education as well too. So look forward to working with her coming forward, and certainly be at the public meeting and seeing it. One of her first ones for municipal will be the Ontario Good Roads Roma combined convention at the end of the month, where she'll be speaking then too. Anything else from council? Very good. We do have 3 delegations this morning, so we will get to them. The first one we have is Steve Bowers is here. He has the microphone. He's ready to tell us about trees and everything out there. So Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Can you hear me all right here?
Yes.
Yeah, my name's Steve Bowers, as Mayor said. I'm a retired forester actually, but I'm working part-time with Trees Ontario Foundation. I'm here to tell you a little bit about the funding that Trees Ontario provides for tree planting. I like to call this the second best time to plant a tree, and funding to help you with it. Now, probably people have all heard the old joke about the best time to plant a tree is 50 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today, so that's what we're talking about today. All kinds of reasons to plant trees. I think probably from your perspective, you folks deal with infrastructure on a daily basis, probably in your municipal roles here. You're providing infrastructure for people to utilize and provide things that people need. Well, I like to think of trees as a green infrastructure. Our trees and our forests are a green infrastructure that gives us a whole bunch of benefits and things we appreciate but often take for granted. So things like clean air, clean water, good supply of water, wildlife habitat, recreational opportunities, the forest products that a lot of the industries in this area depend on for their raw material, and of course the products that they manufacture. All kinds of reasons to plant trees. I'm going to skip a couple here. A little bit about Trees Ontario. Trees Ontario is a not-for-profit foundation. We're the largest tree planting partnership in North America. Been around since around 2004. Supported the planting of about 13 million trees in that time period. And currently our target is to try and support the planting of 3 million trees per year. And it is largely funded by the Ontario government, and the main program that we deliver is called the 50 Million Tree Program. And under that program, we provide funding. We'll talk a little bit about that in a couple minutes. But when you think about it, planting 3 million trees, you don't just all of a sudden decide to plant 3 million trees. There's a lot of stuff has to go on behind the scenes as far as preparation. First you have to grow 3 million trees, and there agreements and negotiations with nurseries. There's training and support that Trees Ontario provides in partnership with our delivery agents, and lots of marketing, communications, et cetera. And that's one thing I'm here doing today is just letting you folks know about our program. This map here shows the trees that were planted between, the sites that were planted between 2008 and 2011, and you can see that Gray and Bruce are very well represented as far as sites that have been planted under this program in that 3-year time period. Now the tree planting is actually delivered locally by local partners. The on-the-ground work, dealing with landowners, putting the trees in the ground is done by local partners. So we have 2 partners in this area that deliver the program, and they do a great job. Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority and the folks there, and also Lands and Forest Consulting just down the road towards Hanover, a bit north. So they actually, they're agents that work on behalf of Trees Ontario and do that local on-the-ground stuff and put the trees in the ground. Now, the main program, the Trees Ontario has, the 50 million tree program, has some eligibility requirements. The minimum plantable area has to be 1 hectare, which is 2.5 acres. It can't be forested area, it has to be open area. The density, 1,500 to 2,200 seedlings per acre. That's roughly 600 to 900 per hectare. That's roughly 600 to 900 seedlings per acre is the density that's required. And there is a 15-year agreement between the planting delivery agent and the landowner, because if we're planting that or spending that kind of money on private land, there needs to be some kind of assurance that the money's well spent, and it's not going to be wasted by those trees being pastured or plowed under or whatever in a couple of years. Now, the program continually evolves, and this year, for the first time, they're also including some other options, windbreak plantings, which lots of benefits of windbreaks, both agricultural and otherwise, and so if the windbreak plantings meet that 1,500 tree minimum, which is roughly 1 hectare of planting, then we can include windbreak plantings or riparian buffers along water courses and wetlands and that sort of thing now. So another change for this year that can be included be funded under the 50 million tree program. This slide's got a few mistakes in it, but anyway, typically on a site, the planting can range in cost quite a bit depending on where it is, what species are used, the size of the stock, the nurseries that you're getting the stock from, etc. But if you just take one example, possibly a planting site that's costs about $1.50 per seedling. Trees Ontario provides $1.35 of that. Typically, landowners might, if it was $1.50, landowners may be responsible for that, for 15 cents of that. So that would be about, at 900 trees per acre, that'd be about $135, I think it is, an acre cost, or $675 for 5 acres. And the total cost of that planting would be $1,350 per acre. So the landowner really is only paying about 10% of the planting cost in that particular scenario. Like I said, it varies considerably. It can vary considerably depending on where you are, etc. But the other thing is, in some municipalities or locations, there are other funding programs that can be stacked on top of the tree planting program, the Trees Ontario 50 million program. So if there are local programs that support tree planting, sometimes landowners can receive close to 100% of the cost of doing the planting when you combine Trees Ontario funding with other programs. And I don't know about Gray, whether there's funding up here, but for example, where I'm from, Huron County, the municipality of the county of Huron does provide funding for tree planting under their Huron Clean Water Program, and that can be stacked on our funding and cover close to 100% of the cost. So it depends where you are. Now, I guess that's the end of my presentation. I guess what I would leave with a few messages. I'd encourage you to keep supporting the local planning agents, because as I said, they're doing a great job. If you hear of any tree planting, potential tree planting projects, certainly pass it on to those folks or to Trees Ontario. And there's one other thing, there is and I'm also, if in your duties as councillor, if you have an opportunity to promote or let people know about the 50 million tree program and the opportunities for funding for tree planting, that'd be great as well. But and the last thing, there is a local tree planting workshop that's being presented on February the 28th at the Soggy Valley headquarters in Formosa. So that's open to the public if anybody's interested in that. It's 7 to 9 p.m. on February the 28th. And certainly be happy to entertain any questions.
Well, thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to suggest we entertain any questions. And Steve, thank you very much for the presentation, and you will. I'll open it up. Is there any questions from council? Thinking? John, Councillor Eccles, go ahead.
In the last couple of years, we've had a dramatic increase in land value and crop prices. Have you noticed a decline in tree planting?
It's definitely a harder sell in some areas. For example, where I'm from, the land's going for $15,000 an acre. It's pretty, it's hard to convince somebody to put some of that productive land into tree planting. So it's a harder sell in some of those areas, but there still are opportunities. Most of the trees go on to marginal land. And the other thing, I've thought about that a lot. And farming, it's a great thing. Farming's been fairly profitable in the past few years. And I think once the feeding frenzy ends, like people are, it's been good, and that's great. I hope it continues. I think when people are making good money and times are good, they're more likely to invest in stewardship and sustainability of their landscape. So I'm hopeful that, if this good times continue, that people will be thinking about the stewardship of their landscape and maybe considering things like windbreaks or those riparian buffers, and not necessarily taking a lot of land out of production. And any farm, I don't know whether you farm or not, but any farm has some marginal areas that aren't as productive. And in many cases, it's probably more profitable and better for long-term sustainability if those areas were planted in trees.
Go ahead.
Now, I heard part of this presentation a few weeks ago, and to a different venue, but Grey and Bruce counties, we have 40 to 50% tree cover. And down where you're from, it was 4% tree cover at one point, and now through these programs, they've actually doubled their tree cover down in that part of the world to 8%. So I'm encouraged that you guys are planting trees. There are parts of this world that do need it.
Thanks very much. And I just love this area up here in Grey and Bruce. It's just a beautiful area with the forest cover you have and the mix with agriculture. So it's a nice area. Huron County as a whole has a roughly 15%, but I know there's one township down in the south end near Exeter that had 4% or less, and I don't think they've increased their numbers.
They're still talking about cutting elm trees down on the county road. Deputy Mayor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Comment on species of trees as to what, is that strictly one species can be planted, or how many different species can be planted?
Typically they can plant up to 8 species on any particular project, and there tends to be more coniferous trees planted because of the availability. Conifers tend to be better pioneer species and handle those open field conditions better, but we've learned over the years that diversity is a good thing. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, and landowners also want diversity in their projects as well. So in most cases, there's some diversity in almost every planning project, and that's the sort of thing the landowner works out with their planning agent. And the other thing, the most important thing in that, of course, is the trees have to be suited to the site. The soil conditions and the drainage conditions on that site may favor certain species of tree over the other, and you want to plant the trees on the site that are most suited to the site. So that's the species choice sometimes as well.
Thank you.
That's Bev.
So what are the species?
Carol will work the mic for you.
What species are planted?
quite a wide range of species. Coniferous trees, white pine, red pine, white spruce, Norway spruce, white cedar, tamarack, European larch. In the deciduous species, black cherry, red oak, white oak, swamp white oak, I'm losing track of what I said. Ash, of course, unfortunately, we're not planting too many of them anymore because that used to be a great species to use in reforestation projects. And I've probably missed some, but there's quite a wide range available.
And you do cross plantings, like you'll do coniferous and deciduous on one property to make
Oh,
it
yeah.
look more natural?
Oh, yeah.
And one question I have is, why are they planted in straight lines? There is no such thing as a forest that plants in straight lines, so.
Well, quite honestly, it's an operational thing. Like if you're going to plant the trees efficiently and cost efficiently, you're going to be able to tand those trees by using a herbicide or mowing or whatever. If you don't plant straight rows, you can't do that. So unfortunately, we get that question quite a lot, but realistically, we tend to think in our short lifetimes, but I can take you to a property not far from here, north of Hanover. It's actually owned by the town of Hanover, I think, and it was a red pine plantation at one time. I was in there last fall. It's a hardwood woodlot now. So, one of the long-term goals typically in these planting projects is to try and convert the area to a natural stand and do it as efficiently and cost-effectively as possible. Usually there's natural seeding that happens from adjacent trees, from birds or whatever, and as the plantation of conifers is thinned and opened up, the rows disappear. And the other thing for tanding, when you do row thinning in plantations, you typically do that by rows initially. Anyway, so the rows do eventually disappear, and the hardwoods seed in, and within a short period of time, which for us is a long period of time, even a lifetime, typically those stands, even with a lot of conifers, do convert to a hardwood stand. And it's just, hardwoods are a much more difficult tree to establish. They don't handle the field conditions as well. They're more susceptible to competition and rodents and browsing and things like that. So typically we mix them with conifers, but very seldom is there a pure hardwood plantation. If there is, you almost need to treat it like a corn crop and have it completely free of grass and weed competition. And we had, they're having some very successful ones down in the deep southwest. Unfortunately, most of those were ash plantations, but and they're dealing with that now. But anyway, over time, the rows disappear, and I know people don't like to see it initially. Some people love the rows because, some people like that manicured appearance, others don't like them, and I can see both perspectives, but eventually they disappear and it becomes a more natural stand.
Go ahead.
I was just thinking that when you're doing all this effort and time and money and the commitment by the landowner, that deciduous are so much more beneficial to people and everything else. I'm just wondering, I know that they are easier to establish, et cetera, the other, but...
In what way are they more beneficial?
Well, just the reforesting of them, the fact that it looks like a natural forest. The thing is your pictures show a number of sort of forested areas that are the deciduous, and that's not really what it looks like when you plant all conifers. Like that, for example. It just, I don't know.
So there's a conifer stand that has hardwood seeding underneath it that, and through time that'll change. And actually that is just a red pine stand, I think, with a few remnant red pine left, and it's a hardwood understory. So as far as being more beneficial, I don't know, it depends on, there's so many benefits to tree planting, whether it's wind protection, wildlife habitat, forest products, and every species has its own benefits. White cedar, they use it for fence posts, they use it for cedar oil, wildlife love it. It depends what you have in your area, and what your objectives for planting are. Some people are planting for wildlife habitat protection. They might they might, and there's a lot of hardwoods in the area, they may want to introduce conifers for diversity of habitat. So it's hard, like, I think every tree has benefits, it's just a question of what your objectives are, and whether they meet those objectives.
If I could, from the chair, does the group work with the stewardship councils? Gray County Forest Stewardship Councils at all?
50 Million Tree Program worked with a lot of stewardship councils. Some stewardship councils were delivery agents, and some still are, but of course you probably know that the stewardship program is pretty much toast. And well, I was a stewardship coordinator in Huron County, so I've used, and I feel very fortunate I was able to retire a year ago. But
Good choice.
feel, you know, it's really unfortunate that the MNR has ceased to support that program, and some councils are continuing, but it's going to be much more of a challenge for those folks. But they are, for sure, they're partners in many parts of the province as far as being delivery agents to put trees in the ground.
Good. Okay. Whoop, there's no, Christine, got one right behind
Sitting
you.
behind you here. We would like the opportunity to link your website to our West Grey website and just give a broader exposure to your program. You could?
As far as I know, that's fine. It's right here on the slide, and certainly the more people that know about Trees Ontario and the funding opportunities, the better.
And municipalities are very much acceptable into the program for the funding and everything of that nature?
Well, I think so. To be honest. Like, I don't know of any municipalities that are actually delivery agents, but for the most part, I think municipalities have been supportive. And in fact, like where I'm from, Huron, they're funding tree planting programs, so obviously they're quite supportive of anything that helps make their funding go further. So I think that's how they view this, is they say, great, you know, whatever funding we're putting there, we can match it. It'll go that much further and put more trees in the ground.
Very good. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming this morning, Steve, and enlightening us. And I did see the press back there, so there might be some free advertising coming out of that as well, too, for you. As I think it was Councillor Eccles that said, we do have a fairly substantial coverage in Grey County, and certainly here in West Grey, but as you said, we have a number of businesses that are cutting trees down, so and we do happen to do that on rare occasions, Ken, on some of our roadsides where we have to remove a tree, so we can take one down. It would behoove us to put one back into the ground to replace it, or maybe two or three to replace the one that we cut. So this gives us a good opportunity for the public to participate.
Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. The next one that we have another delegation this morning. We have David Ellingsworth is here with us this morning. Sorry, Ellingswood. I said Worth. David's with us, and I'm just thinking this looks more like a source water protection full meeting here. We've got the chair. Good to see you, Mr. Trainer, Mike, Les McKinnon, and Ken Furlong, that was our appointed for the municipal appointee on that. And pleased just to get information this morning. The chair of the Conservation Authority, Mr. Scriven, is with us as well too. So I believe you're the spokesperson today, David, and I'm going to turn it over to you. So welcome and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles, for making the introductions of people accompanying me here today. So we do have two of our source protection committee members, and Mike King, the chair, and Bill Scriven from the Conservation Authority. So I'm presenting today about risk management officials and inspectors, and we'll be looking at a few things in particular. So we'll talk about risk management, the areas in West Grey that are involved with the source protection program in terms of policies and the source protection plan, different activities that we look at, the duties and responsibilities under risk management, how the numbers add up for your municipality, and how to go about performing those different duties and different ways of streamlining efficiencies. So to start off with, Clean Water Act establishes a source protection committee, and we have completed our assessment report, and we've submitted our proposed source protection plans. So those are major milestones for our source protection committee. We're right now kind of waiting for that source protection plans going through review by the Ministry of the Environment. Province-wide, there's been one of those source protection plans that's been approved now, so they'll eventually make their way through that that stack that they have on their desk there. So for now, these are all proposed policies and things that we're talking about. In the Clean Water Act, as many of you might have heard from different presentations and material that we've been sending out, we can use different tools, and there's different activities that we consider as potential drinking water threats. And the tools that we'll focus on in this discussion come from Part 4 of the Clean Water Act, and there's 3 particular sections. 57 talks about prohibiting activities, 58 talks about using risk management plans to manage activities, and 59 talks about restricted land use, which basically flags that one of the other 2, prohibition and risk management, applies to an activity on a particular piece of property. So in West Grey, you operate 2 drinking water systems, but there's actually 7 wellhead protection areas that have been drawn that at least a portion of them coincide with municipality boundaries. So in Neustadt, there's 2 wells that are on Concession Road south of town, south of the village. So each one of those has its own wellhead protection area, and you may have heard this before, but the area that we really focus on usually are any area that you see colored in red on these types of maps. So it's not a very big area, just 100 meters around the well and going a little bit south from there. In Durham, you have the 2 drinking water systems, one on the south end of town near the landmark of Tim Hortons, and another one just east and to the south of the river, the George Street area. So again, fairly small areas that are involved in our program. The red areas is mostly the focus of it. So covering portions of a few blocks on the southern one and portions of a couple blocks on the northern one. Both those wells are influenced by surface water, so we must draw a further area. This is where the numbers start to really add up for West Grey, is in this E zone, or the wellhead protection area that extends out a few concessions and side roads to the north and east of town. It's just 120 meters along both sides of the banks of any of the water courses. And as you can see, the water courses continue east and north, but the zone, the orange colored zone on the map here ends. So that's the end of our wellhead area. But quite a bit of property is involved with at least strips of the properties in these zones. In Markdale, the well that's on the west and the bottom corner of it, the southwest corner, you have about 15 parcels of land that are in West Grey that are involved with the Markdale drinking water system. And finally, sorry, 2 more. Midhill Pines is a very small little subdivision down near Mount Forest. The county line and the municipal line crosses between just south of the roadway there, where it makes a bend. And so that one little field is in West Grey and involved with that drinking water system. And finally in Mount Forest, the top one, called Mount Forest 5 on the west side. There's a little bit in one of the outer edges in the green color that's also in West Grey. That particular wouldn't have any activities or drinking water threats that would need to be managed by the municipality. So the plan uses the Part 4 tools, and this decision to include these tools and apply them to these drinking water systems was made locally by the Source Protection Committee and put into our proposed plan. And at this time, the plan isn't approved, so those policies aren't in effect right now, and we have to see if they do get approved by the Ministry of the Environment. And that approval may come later this year. So we use them for a wide range of activities, and on the PowerPoint I provided, it has, and on the slide here, it has a list of those different activities. Many of them are related to agriculture. That's the way the provincial rules, many of the different things. They can be sources of bacteria like E. coli. They can be sources of chemicals. They can also include different commercial activities. It can include road salt activity, although that doesn't apply in your municipality. It includes chemicals like fuel, so that can involve commercial and industrial and institutional activities. So that's a list there where risk management plans may be needed for those activities in your municipality. Prohibition is also included, but you'll see at the end there I have what's called the A. That's the 100-meter zone closest into the municipal drinking water well. And so in many of these cases for applying manure, applying biosolids to the land, there's already laws preventing that under the Nature Management Act. It can't occur in those zones. And again, similar list for restricted land use. In certain cases, those activities would be prohibited. So restricted land use at the very bottom there is, it's a flag. It happens at the planning level, at the application level for development, and the risk management official is involved in that, reviewing any of those development applications. So enforcement authority is up to the municipality. That's the way the Clean Water Act has put it for these particular tools. Municipality has a lot of flexibility in deciding how that's done, as you've heard or read in other presentations. And there's two officials. There's a risk management official and a risk management inspector. The risk management official negotiates and establishes the plans with the landowner. Risk management inspector monitors compliance. So it's a bit like having your building official and building inspector. The same person can do both those roles, or if you have many activities, you may need more than one person in those roles. The municipality has many different things, and the officials have many roles here. Municipality appoints those individuals. They can work to have procedures and forms, again, as part of the streamlining process. The risk management official negotiates, risk management inspector does compliance. They're also involved in enforcing prohibition. They're involved in screening permits and applications, so involved in the planning and building process. They're sending out notices. They may have to issue orders or undertake actions when enforcement compels them to do that route. And they have record keeping, data management, filing, annual reporting. So there's clerical tasks besides the review and compliance part of it. That should be borne in mind here. Typical process. Some activities are considered existing if they've happened before the plan comes into effect. That's existing. If they start after the plan comes into effect, that's future. And there's some little wiggle room with what's considered an existing activity. So when an individual needs to get a risk management plan, if it's an existing activity, the risk management official is going to be in contact with those people. In our assessment reports, we evaluated where those areas are and who's involved. and who might have these activities. So the risk management official contacts those people and tells them they need a plan by this date. In the future, somebody that's just starting an activity, they'll find out about it through education materials, or maybe when they go to get a application into the office here, they'll be notified, oh, you're going to have to go through this management planning process. After that contact, it's the same. Risk management official gets in touch with the landowner, contacts risk management official. Risk management official may do the site visit. Plan goes in, gets reviewed, maybe some negotiation, it gets agreed to, and then the activity occurs following along with the risk management plan, what it says. So municipality can take on this responsibility themselves. And from my understanding, you already have staff that have completed the risk management official, risk management inspector training. So they could, when the plan comes into effect, start sending out notices and reviewing applications that come in to see if they're in any of those areas that we identified on the maps here. Municipalities can also delegate duties. They can delegate it to health unit, Source Protection Authority, which would be the Conservation Authority. So that's the choice of the municipality. They can work together. They can delegate it to a different municipality to do. And what we've been advocating is for municipalities to really consider this and to be prepared. Because when the plan comes into effect, you need to have those risk management officials and risk management inspectors ready to go, so it doesn't hold up your development applications. Whether you do that yourselves or not depends on different factors, how much workload there is, whether you want to retain those powers, what expertise you already have. So there's different costs involved too, which can also be a consideration. Some are direct and some are indirect. There's different startup that needs to be done in looking back over the list of activities, seeing who needs to be contacted, what are the threats, establishing procedures, creating forms, getting your data management ready, working out how it fits into your planning process and your other administrative processes. The workload will vary by year. There's work up front for startup, and then it will increase and then get more into a regular pattern after a few years of time. So I provided a quick little list of different costs that may be involved in terms of municipality on their side of things. Anything from salaries to data management, regular office expenses and supporting the staff involved. Prosecution and legal costs are included in there because different activities undertaken by the risk management official can be appealed, and you would need to, as you would with your planning and building decisions, you would support those decisions and defend them through the appeal process. So again, I mentioned some of the different variables, how many risk management plans, and the timing of them, what number might be challenged, how big is how much development are you expecting, how many applications would they actually have to review to see if they need a risk management plan. So we can briefly turn to the numbers. So in West Grey, there's about 750 potential drinking water threats that have been identified in the assessment portal. So these need to be verified because many of them were, some of them are estimated. The information may date back to 5 years ago now when the work was first done. So it all depends on what's happening on the ground at the time the plan comes in. We sent a proposal from the conservation authorities. If municipalities were interested, then the conservation authority may work out an arrangement to provide the risk management services. So we first sent it out in March, and in March 2011 didn't have a response from municipalities. It was kind of early, so they weren't quite thinking about getting into that role. We had workshops in November of 2012, and some municipalities said we'd be interested in looking at this again, so we sent that back out in December. So it gives an estimate of how many full-time equivalent positions might be needed to staff the risk management office. Looking up here, in our proposal, the numbers that we sent we didn't try to include all the related administrative and startup costs, but kind of roughly there'd be about 750 activities that were drinking water threats, possibly a little under 300 might need a risk management plan. We applied one figure and gave you numbers of full-time equivalents that might be needed in West Grade. So here it goes up because they have up to 3 years to do the plan, so the numbers increase as people realize I have to comply with this. So year 3 is the busiest. Then after that, it's a matter of just maintaining, reviewing, and inspecting them. We provided at the November workshops a guidebook that had a chapter in it about risk management. There's a calculating sheet in there. So I ran through some of the calculations for that and came up with about the same amount needed for planning and enforcement aspect of it. Not too much different, higher in subsequent years than what the other proposal. When we include though things like the startup and the other administrative duties, the annual reporting, data management, and office things, then the full-time equivalent goes up. And so it's a little under 2, a little over 2 in the third year, and then less than 1.5 full-time equivalents going forward. And that would be taking in all the different staff that might be involved, from running accounts when you collect a fee to data people to the risk management officials. So that's it. So you just ran it yourself, and you didn't really make an effort to streamline things. In our workshops, we talked about how you can streamline. So just because you need about 300 risk management plans, many of those properties need more than one. Some of the farm properties, if they're cropping and have animals and store manure and other things, they may need 5 different activities, may need a risk management plan. Those can all be done in one document. So the number comes down and the complexity can come down because you're only collecting the information once and dealing with that person once. You can provide standard forms, and we're really encouraging this, working on your own or collectively with neighboring municipalities and source protection staff. We can help come up with standard forms so it's easier for the landowner to complete the form. It's easier for the risk management official to review that form. So on both sides, you're saving time, which translates into saving costs and hassle for the landowner and also for your staff. And having good data management is important because you'll have to report on this. So again, it's the startup actions that you do that can really streamline things, and having good communication is important. So all these things are ways to simplify it, utilize existing information, and make it easier for people. Now in our the proposal that we sent was to encourage municipalities to really think about risk management, make a decision if they're going to do it on their own, or if they don't think they have skills in-house or the number of activities to hire their own staff, and to look for partnership opportunities. So that can be another municipality working together, or it could be the conservation authorities providing that service. So when it's streamlined, we can shave off about 20% or more. Depends how many other municipalities or agencies are working together but you could trim down the cost of this rather well by working together and simplifying things for people. Overall, that drops down the cost. So I'm not so much here to make a sales pitch from the Conservation Authority to provide this service. It's giving information to the municipality so that you can go with a decision and get these processes set up this year so that we're ready when the source protection plan comes along. We're available to help discuss with staff what the best way for that is, how you might streamline it, share information with you. And if your municipality or other municipalities were interested, then Conservation Authority, I guess, would need to sit down and, as you would with other agreements, there still needs to be decisions made on if there's enough interest, capacity to pull that type of joint program together, and then understanding of what the costs are, how those are charged back. So the Conservation Authority hasn't, so far they've only said it's a possibility, and we need to hear from municipalities if they're really interested before they would put together a full proposal in that regard. So the key concepts from this, there's flexibility in administering these. The municipality does have control of that, deciding how to staff that responsibility. If you charge the landowners or absorb the costs as a municipality providing that service, if you want to delegate it to somebody else, and setting up forms and processes, that's totally a local decision that the municipality has control over. Very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, David, and well, just thank you for the presentation. I don't know whether I should say thank you for all the information that is going to be bestowed on us here, or the responsibilities. If you've got a few minutes, the chair will let you stay for a couple more minutes and work with us here. Any questions? I noticed a few people doing some writing. The first one, from my perspective, you were mentioning about, so is it the thought process that the plans and everything of that nature, the cost of putting those plans in place will be borne by the landowner, or by, was it expected that it would be by the users of the water facility, the Durham water users or the Newstead water users?
Okay. The Clean Water Act provides, I guess, the full range of ways to go about recovering costs. So as you can see, there's going to be costs to the municipality for providing that review and enforcement service, and the landowner is responsible for making the plan and presenting it to the risk management official. So in some areas, there is talk of the water users of that being added to their bill, and the landowner would not be charged a fee for the review of the plan. So the risk management plan, the landowner would still bear a cost for putting that plan together, but the review of it, in some areas, they are thinking of putting that all onto the water user, just as another tack on for the fee that it costs the monthly bill according to whichever it is. Some areas feel it's an overall responsibility. We've heard many areas where the province pay for it. We haven't really had any
Uptake on that.
any uptake from the province, and you would understand that from many other costs on municipalities. That's seen the way that they go.
Okay, thank you. And how much redundancy for the environmental farm plans, or can you use the environmental farm plans really to work in developing your risk management plan?
Sure. What our Source Protection Committee has really wanted is for it to work with existing information. So in our requirement for doing a risk management plan, if it's kind of a farm-related one, it'll follow the same sort of guidelines that would be in the nutrient management act if you're doing a nutrient management plan. So you can already see there's kind of the way it should be done. So that's simpler. If they want to use expertise of a crop advisor, they already know how to do the nutrient management plan, so it's not going to be difficult for a crop advisor to do a risk management plan. And what municipality has the opportunity to do in setting up the process and forms is to allow that information to be just inserted. If there's a page or module out of the environmental farm plan that can provide the information needed for the risk management plan, then allow that when you set it up.
Very good. Okay. Questions? Deputy Mayor Bell, John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, that was one of my questions as to how much, shall we say, duplication of process is involved in this, and I'm glad you pointed out that there would be some, shall we say, specifics attached to it regarding the nutrient management plans, because there have been a number of gentlemen, not only at this table, but in the audience, that went to tremendous time-absorbing efforts to put a nutrient management plan together, and with cropping being, shall we say, spilling over the borders of both townships, counties, and all of that, I can see, I guess, shall we say, some time being spent on this. I was wondering, recognizing that some areas that have had livestock now don't have livestock, and maybe in the future might have livestock back again, how many times are we going to have to visit these properties to put this plan together again in the future? Like if you get, shall we say, what I don't know if you want to call it certified or whatever, once, how many more times will there be officials wanting to go back to the same property if your farming operation changes?
Okay. So in terms of a nutrient management plan, if the property already has a nutrient management plan or a strategy in one of those, if it satisfies the risk management official, like it meets the measures and stuff that would protect the water, they just accept it. And that they take that into basically doing a risk management plan. So there's no duplication. They already have a valid nutrient management plan for the property already. They can just accept it. So that will simplify in many cases for larger operations. And then for whether they have to go back or the operation changes, we have a kind of a transition clause in our proposed policies. And the risk management official would go to the property and find out from the landowner what have you had in the last, I believe it's about 4 years. So if you had any animals in the last 4 years, have you used the manure pile here, have you used cropping and stuff, pasturing, and then if it's happened in the last 4 years, then that becomes an existing activity. So if they start that a few years after the plan takes effect, they're under the existing rules. So it's considered an existing activity to go by those rules. If the farm operation changes, they say they're going to have this many animals, they're going to put this much fertilizer in one field, this many head grazing. If they decide to change it, then they send it over to the risk management official, and they can modify their plan. If the measures are fine, then that's it. It's an exchange of information. So once the plan's in place, it's just keeping up to date and making sure the official is made aware if there's any changes. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a great big deal to change the practices. It's just information.
So if a property changes hands, for instance, is that automatically going to trigger a visit from the risk management official?
Yes. The way the province has set it up and their legal language, the risk management plan is signed by the person undertaking that activity. So if the property changes hands, the plan doesn't automatically go with the property. But it could be the same plan, it's just it gets submitted to the risk management official and somebody else's signature as the landowner goes on the plan.
Good. Any other questions, Carol? Councilwoman?
Thank you. The 750 threats that have been identified in West Grey, are they within the red, orange, and yellow or are they only worrying about those in the red areas that you're showing?
Okay. So 750, it includes many that are in the red area on the maps. It includes a lot that are in the orange area for the Durham WAPA E map. And then there are some that are out in the orange and yellow. Those are only what we call the DNAPL chemicals. It's things like vinyl chloride. So they're kind of very toxic. They're toxic things that not many people would have, and for the most part, it's only going to be there might be a couple businesses that would have sufficient quantities, say like automotive garages or hardware stores that are retailing large supplies that would be visited by the risk management official.
And the risk management plan, are we talking simply in the red and orange then?
Yes. So risk management plans, well, it also goes for DNAPL. So there may be a couple risk management plans for the DNAPL chemicals. And the reason why there's less, why it's 273 and not 750 is because not all activities need a risk management plan. Septic systems, and some other ones, risk management plan policy is not used.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say, certainly we'll have to have a lot of discussion about cost recovery. At this point, we have a real problem with it going on the users of the system. For instance, we have 3 other systems that we would have no control over, placing that cost on Forest Markdale and Minto.
Well, I would imagine that these fine learned gentlemen have already worked out a formula of how we do that cost
Well, I will
recovery.
let them hear my concerns on this one too. I think there's other ways we have to
Yeah.
find to fund it.
Mike?
Since you made reference to these fine gentlemen, I'd like to speak because
David? Grab the mic there. Grab the mic, Mike.
we are the committee, we are not the solution, okay? I think that's what you need to know. It is in the hands of the municipalities. What I see though is some creative problem solving, and I hope that's the sort of the spirit of the next few months and year or whatever, assuming our plan is approved in the next year. But I see some creative solutions. And just in respect to Councillor Lawrence's, maybe 750 identified threats, but keep in mind those need to be verified. So you may be sitting with a couple hundred, that type of thing. So there's a lot of this. The marbles haven't quite worked their way down through the machine yet, and so it could be that. But there's, I do hope that there's a lot of creative solutions, and I know that through our mayor and councillors across Grey County, Bruce County, and the surrounding counties, there are a number of CAOs and clerks who have some great solutions. Let's hope we can sort of work in harmony to make that happen. That's really the seed of today, is to see and to share with you what we know, but we're not the solution. We're only the ones who work on a plan.
That was extremely political. I thought you
Oh, well,
left that. I thought you'd left that long ago.
I've been there.
We'll still carry some of that.
Small fee.
Any other questions, Tom? Councillor Marshall.
The Clean Water Act only protects the municipal drinking water sources. If and when will this spill over into the private wells? And if it doesn't spill over into the private wells, why is it more important? Why are the people that are on private wells not as important?
So the Clean Water Act, it does have mechanisms built into it to protect a broader set of wells than just the municipal wells. And there are ways for hamlets, what are called clusters of wells. So if there was a little village or hamlet in a municipality, they thought, or it has shown problems. Many wells were showing lots of nitrates or bad chemicals getting into them. There is a process for the municipality or for the minister to elevate that bunch of wells, even the private wells, and make them part of the source protection program. And they would have the zones drawn, and they would have policies applied to them. I guess this is the first round of it, and the ministry decided that focus on municipal wells and municipal intakes, because then we have more than 80% of Ontario's population, their source of drinking water would be protected. And there's also side benefits, as you can see, like the areas that we draw, they stretch out into the countryside, and some people think that's really bad. Other people think, well, you're getting close, but you're not protecting my water. But certainly properties that fall within some of these areas, if we are preventing certain chemicals or bacteria from getting into the water that goes to the municipality, if there's any well that's tapping that same aquifer, they're also benefiting from the program. So it is protecting some private well water, and the intention of the Clean Water Act in a broad sense is to provide that level of protection to many more private wells over time. This hasn't gotten there. And one other thing is there's a lot better science now. There's mapping, there's understanding activities, how those interact, and things like water budget, understanding water quantity. So there's a lot of good science work that's gone onto it, many millions of dollars spent on research and producing technical studies that can be used by municipalities to protect other areas that can be brought into the planning process, working with these information from assessment reports and technical studies. That information is available, and municipalities can use the provincial policy statement to protect other water resources if they choose to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's very good, thank you. On your map showing the tributaries out east of Durham, I'm just wondering, you run up a stream, you're protecting it, and all of a sudden you draw a line across the stream that there's an end to that.
Sure.
And there is a gravel pit that just got approved right at the end of one of the tributaries. Wonder why it stopped there.
Sure. When a well shows evidence of being affected by groundwater, or by surface water, sorry, so it's called a Goody type well, then we look at the surface water. And we're, the technical rules say, travel 2 hours upstream from I guess kind of the closest point by the well. So the well at George Street is right by the Saugeen River. So take a point in the Saugeen River and go 2 hours upstream. And that's under good flow conditions like we've seen in the last week. Snow melt and rain. 2 hours, what does that get you? So we have stream gauges, they tell us the velocity, we know the slopes, we know where swampy areas are, let's slow it down. That's all taken into consideration when we go until 2 hours is reached. So sometimes it gets you right to the headwaters of the stream, and other times you just draw a line when the clock runs out. So that's how those were determined. That's probably the 2 hours travel time.
Thank you.
So if we've got any paint right today, Don, we could probably go up someplace up the stream, get it onto the frazzle ice, and we know exactly how long it takes to get it down into Durham. Be a good way to check it out. There will certainly be a lot of questions going forward, and Mike, I appreciate knowing that this is very fluid at this point in time of how we're going to implement it, and that there is a lot of flexibility on how. I know that we have discussed some of that with our staff. I guess maybe the municipality of West Grey is a little bit fortunate, or very fortunate probably, to have one of our staff members sit on the board. And so there's been a great exchange of information, and thank you for taking the time, Les, and the fortitude to stick with it on a poor paying job that probably some of the people that put it in there that didn't look at the per diems that well. But going forward, I think that we have some good information and have that flexibility. It's something that, as David had said, it's developing. We certainly haven't, there's no restrictions on it, and we can all attack it in a different situation. And hopefully we will see some of those partnerships between other municipalities I know that South Bruce certainly has that with Brockton and having, is it 90% of Brockton's threats are in South Bruce, so Mayor Getz will be continually trying to figure that one out. But it's progress and moving forward, and we look forward to working with all sources on trying to find the best solution for drinking water protection, which is one of the 3 elements that we absolutely need going forward. So thank you for your work, Ken, Les, and Mike on the committee, and David as a staff person. Tremendous. Thank you very much for this presentation today, and you'll be hearing from us, and we hope we'll be hearing back from you more too. Good. Okay. Do we want to take just a 5-minute break? And then we've got one more delegation this morning, so we'll just take a break for 5 minutes. We have one last delegation, or our last delegation of the morning. Ron Davidson, our municipal planner, and Ron was contracted by the 2 municipalities that are partnering on some employment lands in the west quadrant of West Grey over near Hanover, and just asked Ron to come and give us kind of a planning perspective today. This is all in draft at this point in time, so we have Ron's letter there, and Mr. Davidson, I think you know pretty much everybody around the table here, so won't go through the introductions. Ron, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you, and there's should be a black button there. You push that, and the red will come on that mic, and you'll be live.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Be that way.
I think I have to be. Thanks. This morning, I'm going to talk briefly about an area of West Grey that we've been talking about for quite a while now, about developing for commercial purposes, or at least setting the stage for developing the lands for commercial purposes. What I mean by that is changing the County of Grey official plan, bringing these lands into a urban type designation, and then secondly, zoning them for the appropriate use, which would be mostly commercial, and then allowing the individual property owners to come forward and with development proposals, and having your council entertain those proposals and hopefully see some of it come to fruition. It stems from Official Plan Amendment number 80 to the County of Grey official plan, which was approved by the Ontario Municipal Board this past June. What that did, the amendment number 80, pardon me, was the 5-year review official plan. It was it encompassed a large number of changes to the official plan, and one of the last things it did was to add or identify some lands east and southeast of Hanover as an area of possible development. And if Mark, if you could turn to page 4, there's the map. Right, so you'll see there the cross-hatched area east, southeast of Hanover there. Those are the lands that were identified as future secondary plan area by the Ontario Municipal Board, or adopted by the Ontario Municipal Board. There's approximately 140 hectares of land there. I am not saying that we're going to develop 140 hectares. In fact, we can't do that. The fine print in Official Plan Amendment number 80 said, yeah, there's going to be some development in that area. What the municipality of West Grey has to do is come back to us, or come back and revisit through an official plan amendment process itself. They have to identify the number of hectares that can be developed based on a formula and population projections and need for additional commercial land. And secondly, identify the specific lands in which we're going to develop, and that's what we have done. For the last few months, I have been working with a working group, if you want to call it that, comprising of the mayor of West Grey here, and Christine, our CAO, along with the mayor of Hanover and the CAO of Hanover as well. And from time to time, input from other staff like Mark and the county planning staff as well, and county transportation department to come up with sort of the ideal location for the urban expansion. What I've been doing in the meantime is recrunching the numbers. IBI Group is the name of a planning firm that was working with the town of Hanover. And IBI had been working on this project for over the course of about 2 or 3 years for Hanover, and they had said at one point that there's a demand for 57 hectares of land outside of Hanover that needs to be found to accommodate the long-term needs for the town of Hanover. And of course that would be inside the municipality of West Grey boundaries. The 57 hectares, however, was not accepted by the province. The province was saying that, that those 57 hectares were based on a population projection and a land use projection to the year 2031. The province said that since your official planning in the County of Grey only goes to the year 2026, that your own projections can only go to the year 2026. So we took the 57 hectares and we adjusted those numbers accordingly to reflect, again, a growth period to the year 2026. What we also did is we took a look, at the IBI numbers as well. There's a couple little things that we had to rejig. For example, they had identified a need for several hectares of institutional land, which is no longer the case. First, IBI did not take into account the existing institutional land, vacant land in Hanover, and also the school board just recently purchased some land to take care of their long-term needs. So at the end of the day, it was felt when we recrunched the numbers, there was a need for 0 additional hectares of institutional land. Long story short, as you can see on page 2 to my report to your council, is that we need approximately 22 hectares of commercial land. We need approximately 2.75 hectares of open space or parkland. And that's a total of just under 25 hectares. And then we add additional 15% to take into account roads. So that brings us to approximately 28.5 hectares of land. So the question was then, okay, and presented this to the working committee, where do we find that 28.5 hectares? Where does it make most sense to apply that within the context of that crossed-hatched area there? And if Mark, you'd be so kind to turn to the very last page, that's what we've come up with. What you see before you in cross-hatching is what we're suggesting we move forward with in terms of an amendment to the County of Grey official plan, and also implementing zoning bylaw amendment to be done at the local level here. It includes not only 28 hectares of basically vacant land, but a couple of other properties that have already been developed, including the drive-in theater and in the north, or near the north end of the property, the Masonic Lodge. And it was felt that those lands would likely not be redeveloped. They could, but perhaps they wouldn't, and therefore it did not count towards our 28.5 hectares of land. So that is what we're proposing, an official plan amendment again to bring those lands into the urban designation, and then ultimately a zoning bylaw amendment to allow those lands to be more readily developed. I will be presenting this same report to Hanover Council tonight because it is a joint venture with the town of Hanover. And with their acceptance and your acceptance here this morning, I would like to move forward with the application to amend the county official plan. The last thing I would like to say though is development, excuse me, development will not be forced on any of these individual landowners. This is an opportunity that opens up the door for any of the 6 individuals that own these lands to in the future come forward with a proposal. But should they decide that A, developing the land, or B, selling the land to a developer is not what they want to do, that is something that is completely fine. There's no requirement for anybody to do anything with their property, and they can continue to use their property as how they see fit. And so presumably most of the people would look at this as an opportunity, but it's possible that some people might not like our proposal. But again, they can continue to use their property as it exists today. And that's my presentation.
Thank you very much, Ron. There'll be a lot more questions when we have answers here for today. So, but I'll start with Councillor Lawrence.
Thank you. You mentioned that the Masonic Lodge and the Hanover Drive-In are already developed. Are they included in that crosshatch, or are they the two properties I see just to the south of it?
Yes, they are, and I'll approach.
They are in the,
Yeah.
okay.
That's the drive-in here, and that is the Masonic Lodge.
Okay, all right. All right. And my question, Mr. Mayor, I don't need details, but has there as well been ongoing conversations about servicing?
Yes, we haven't got deeply into that, but we do know that Hanover supplied us with numbers from there, that they have water and sewer capacity to be able to accommodate development out in this area. Sorry, Ron.
Yeah, and to further that, yeah, we did meet with staff here one day to discuss servicing before we started drawing lines on a map, because that's rather important to identify where the servicing is. Last thing you want to do is identify lands that we can develop and then find out it's not feasible. The servicing for this area, at least from along Grey Road 28, when those lands are being developed, it does not appear like it's going to be a cumbersome task. The servicing is at the intersection of Grey Road 4 and Grey Road 28, so the servicing would be brought straight down from the north from that intersection.
Okay. Councillor Eccles, John.
The little sliver of land off to the west, why is it protrude down there? Is it because there's an existing street or existing infrastructure down there?
Yeah, the southwesterly portion. Yeah. As you'll see in my report, there's a requirement for X number of hectares of commercial land, and there's also a requirement to add about 2.76 hectares. Excuse me. 2.76 hectares of parkland and open space. We sat around at a couple of our meetings scratching our heads wondering where the best location for that open space land would be. And we felt, since the school board had just purchased the property immediately west of that small sliver, that perhaps it made most sense from a planning perspective to have the open space area right next to the school site.
Any other questions this morning? So we said we're at very much at the preliminary stage. We'll be meeting later this week with the landowners to give them an update of what our thoughts are and what the proposals may look like. Nothing is written in stone yet. We're still in the development stage of this program. And if there's no other questions, thank you very much, Ron. And no doubt we'll be probably seeing you next Monday on at our planning meeting here. So
See you tomorrow.
I wasn't going to say when the meeting was, but you let that slip. Very good. Okay. Thank you again, Ron. And we will get on with council then, if there's no other questions. Just let Mark get connected up there. And we'll probably need Carrie. Is Carrie coming in?
Yes.
if you could maybe grab a hold of her, Christine, while Mark's getting this closed down. We have staff reports this morning. Thank you for coming in, Carrie. And first on Carrie's part here is the vouchers. And it was suggested at Committee of the Whole, we have been going through page by page by page. Everybody has had the package. And at Committee of the Whole, we suggested instead of doing that, could we just suggest if there was any questions on the vouchers? I believe we have two. We'll start with the first voucher. And if there's any questions on that, do we have any? Deputy Mayor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Carrie, just to refresh my memory, Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, those...
Page number?
I'm sorry, it's right near the first of the first one. About this page. It says 2.
Page 2?
Okay. Those Saugeen Valley payments, biannual, are they annual? So they don't, okay, not till the end of the year. Can you refresh my memory, what is the Durham Dam Safety Project?
That was the safety booms or buoys that they put in at the middle dam, I think it was, and some signage. I think there was signage. There was a few different things that they were doing to make that a little more, that middle dam structure.
Thank you, yeah, I remember now, thank you.
And did that include the chain link fencing at the upper dam as well too? That's no longer there? For anybody's, they did put it in, but when the ice let go last Tuesday, Wednesday, Ken, the ice come through and it took most of the chain link fence with it, so they may have to relook at that this spring. Insurance, somebody's insurance maybe will look after it. Okay. Any other questions? Rob, Councillor Thompson.
Page 1 of 2012, the under Normanby Station for Durham Electric, exit lighting with emergency light. There's something else for 3152. Is it what? Can you tell us what other, etc.?
Yeah, good idea. I don't like your bills.
No.
So that's exit lights times 3 with emergency lighting, a cord drop, emergency lighting, and a siren hookup.
A siren hookup?
On the roof, do they put?
Oh, they still have that?
They were gonna
Did they?
put that
Oh, yeah.
back up.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a backup?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I wondered when it was 3100, so, okay.
Okay. Any other questions then on the first voucher for this morning? Seeing none, I have a motion moved by Rob. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yes, we do have. I just thought this was the first one, but it is both of them here. So we'll go on to the second one. The second voucher, number 2 for 2013. Any questions on that voucher? On any of the pages? Everybody's fairly happy? Okay, so then I'll make the motion. It's moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by John Eccles. Be it resolved that the Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 26, 2012, and voucher number 2, 2013 of the Municipality of West Grey in the amount of $113,255.54 and $465,886.89 respectively. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Okay, thank you. And then, Carrie, we have discussed at Committee of the Whole and have brought it forward today to make amendments to the bylaws for the municipal capital facilities, the Durham Art Gallery and the Durham Curling Club. The province had requested that we remove the 2 lines if they do stop. Basically what it says, when they finish being the programming or for the proposed usage, that's the time that that it stops being a municipal capital facility, not as we proposed in 2 years' time, or if it came back into ownership, and then it would be the ownership of the municipality. Any questions on that? I think that's just there for our information going forward in the bylaws. It'll be coming later. Any other questions? Well, I'm going to go from council first before I jump. Carrie, what have you got else for us? You have one more item.
Yes, I had inadvertently missed follow-up from the Committee of the Whole meeting. There was a resolution that the Committee of the Whole recommended Council approve a grant of $500 in 2013 and 2014 with the third-year limited option to the Durham Girls Alumni Band. So that's missed on my report, so if you can deal with that at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, we can deal with that one as a direct motion then coming forward. Okay. Is there any questions? What Carrie's here on that? Seeing none. Any other questions for Carrie? I guess I'll ask one. I think I know the answer to it. We do have, and it'll be coming up in Ken's report, that be a verbal report on the Durham Frazzle Ice problem. And our funding, we have been in the past with the amount of equipment we have in the river, that's been funded substantially by the province to look after that. Carrie?
I don't know that it's a guarantee. I think
I didn't say it was a guarantee. You're correct.
I think the Conservation Authority applied for 50% in prior years. But yeah, and they kind of wait for approval on it, but it's been about 50%.
Yeah. So that's where some of the funding, because it has come out over the weekend while the hi-hos were working. Okay, Mark.
Sorry, just to back up, Carrie, the $500 for the Durham Girls, I know I missed Committee of the Whole meeting, but where was that going to be funded from?
That'd be just council grants to organizations. Okay. There's $1,500 sort of miscellaneous unassigned at this point, so.
And is it assigned, so it's not assigned to anything else?
No, it's so that you can deal with things as they come up throughout the year.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for Carrie? Carrie, any questions for council? Yes?
Just a reminder to submit your timesheets, please, for those that I don't have.
By the end of the day? Okay. Thank you very much, Carrie. Okay. Nothing else then. We'll go down to Director of Infrastructure and Public Works. And Mr. Gould is with us this morning, and the first one is on the arena structural inspection reports. And Ken, do you want any other comments on those?
Nelson Dolly has completed the inspection reports as required by the Ministry of Environment, I believe every 5 years, and he has made some asked for some minor recommendations, particularly in the 8 Normanby Arena, in regards to painting of structural steel and possibly masonry work on the outside block. And then he just had a minor recommendation at the the Newstead Arena for safety barrier protection on the storage mezzanine. But overall, they're very favorable reports for West Grey. Anyway, I certainly think they're great. So,
okay, Councillor Lawrence.
Thank
Cheryl?
you. With regard to the Normanby Arena, there was money in the budget this year to paint the beams, and it would seem to me, after reading that report, it's not necessary we do it this year. We can do it within 5 years before the next report. It would make sense to keep putting that money into reserve and doing the low E ceiling at the same time as we do the beams. If we take the low E ceiling out, they can inspect behind it, and if there's anything needs done there, and then do the painting and the ceiling at the same time. And we're talking quite a bit of money. We had a cost a few years ago on Newstead for low E, and I think it was about $110,000 for the ceiling, so I don't know where it would be at now. But anyway, to me, it's not necessary to do that painting this year. We should put that money into reserve and, you know, for the next couple of years, perhaps, and then do the job all at once.
Might be a very wise decision.
I think we need to also look at that idea of siding the block at some point in time. It's, you know, makes quite a difference.
We've certainly seen the benefits. Did it a few years ago with the Durham Arena and saw the benefits there. It did cause a bit of a problem for the coaches as they couldn't draw their diagrams or draw up any plays on the frost on the block anymore, but they had to carry a pad with them. But it's certainly done a considerable efficiency on heating and keeping the ice in better shape.
Well, also it prolongs the life of the blocks, so yeah.
Okay. That's on the inspection reports. We've received those for information. The Owen Sound Hazardous Waste Days come out of Committee of the Whole. Ken?
yes, the City of Owen Sound has provided West Grey with information in regards to their HHW days for 2013. They have scheduled 8 Saturdays beginning in April, running through to October. And they provided a costing which hasn't changed, I don't believe, since 2011 when we were last associated with them. It's still $25 a vehicle with an upset limit of 54 liters, which is a substantial amount of hazardous waste. And then the administration fee of $1,000. We have discussed this at the Committee of the Whole meetings, and I believe the Committee of the Whole did recommend that we move forward with this for 2013, and Mark has prepared a bylaw for council, I guess, later on in the meeting.
Yes. Any questions or comments on this? Ken? For Ken? Just another service that we can deliver to keep those types of chemicals and whatnot out of our landfill and out of people's garages and backyards as well too. Don?
Are we still planning on running one of our own, Ken?
We have one of our own scheduled for July 27th of this year, Don, yes.
Okay, and how much does that cost the municipality?
I believe it's about $14,000 for the day, but we are eligible for funding on that too. So I think we got about 9,000 back, 9 or 10 back from our previous HHW day. So,
yep. So overall, it's about $5,000 probably out of pocket, $4,000 to $5,000 out of pocket for our municipality.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. I guess we're doing a little committee work together to look at the landfill, the garbage pickup and the Moloch systems, and education was talked about, and I think that that would be a good thing on that whole review of that service. That if Owen Sound's going to run one for $1,000, and we should. I don't think we have to run one if they're going to run 80 a year. But we just got to encourage the residents that they don't run all the way to Owen Sound for 1 or 2 liters of paint. That it's that they take 54 liters here for $25. That their neighbors get together, and so if we can encourage and educate people that that service is out there, we can probably get away with just joining Owen Sound.
Well, it's one of those things of looking at different partnerships. You know, maybe there is a partnership here in the south part of the county as well too, or something like that with Southgate and Grey Islands or whatever. But continuing those partnerships to be able to supply the service or the programming would be absolutely a good idea. John, Councillor Eccles.
But I think we have to look at the cost per person that uses it. There's only 14 people go to Owen Sound, and the rest of the municipality comes here. We have to look and see what it costs per person that uses it and see how well it goes in Owen Sound.
Yes, I believe even through the Source Protection Act, there is a stipulation that you have to provide HHW services more regular than 1 day a year, so we'll have to look at that also when that time comes.
We'll see what flexibility the plan has, whether they've got an absolutely black figure there or whether there is some flexibility in gray area of what we should supply for our rural municipalities. Okay. The next one, there's all there for hazardous waste. American Water, company that looks after our water and sewer management. The contract was discussed and Ken has brought it forward here. It's been in the package and the bylaw. This is for information. If there's any questions or comments, in the bylaw would be coming forward at the next meeting. So is there any questions, comments? Deputy Mayor Bell, John.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Ken, I see their overtime's gone up. How many time, or would you have a rough idea how many hours of overtime, say, the municipality would require?
Looking at their invoices, I would say it's probably maybe $1,000 a month in overtime. Yeah, it was previously $60 an hour, so that would maybe be 15 hours. I know they have had a lot of trouble with the system before. We've upgraded here in the last little while, but we're gradually getting the bugs out of it, so we're hoping to alleviate that problem.
Okay, and then that's good because that's over 15% increase per hour, so it goes up a little faster than some other things.
Mark? Councillor Rapke?
Yeah, can I just, so we signed a lot, so it must have been a 5-year agreement last time, I think, and you were looking at renewing. Was there a reason we didn't think of going to tender rather than just renewing the existing one?
We have went to tender back in, I believe, 2005 to hire the services of American Water, and we were having trouble with our previous operators, and that's the reason we went to American Water. So they have provided very good service in the last 8 years. So it's quite a bit of work internally to switch operators for something like this. It's there's a lot of equipment involved, and it's
So it's more than just the service of the people, there's actually equipment, and so you're saying there'd be a large startup cost?
Yes.
Because of the monitoring equipment that they have to install. We had another, I think it was an engineering firm, and I can't remember what it was, but we saw a significant savings, but that's just for the actual service. What you're talking about, there's actual hardware costs and other things that would involve that would probably make it impractical for someone to improve on the pricing?
Yes, with their relatively small increase, I think it's certainly favorable for West Grey to continue with their service. It's compared to the other side.
Is there any companies that do this in this area, like locally?
I believe there's Viola. They work at they have, I believe, Brockton and Owen Sound area maybe, and then there's Ontario Clean Water Agency that they're within the area too. I'm not sure exactly just what they do, but.
Oh, okay, no, thanks. I just wondered what the rationale was. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Don, Councillor Marshall.
In the basic fee service there, it says approximately 3% increase. Is there a cost of living thing built into the contract?
Yes, there is, Don. It's the annual increase through the government, whatever it is. Yeah.
I think it's the CPI index. I'm not certain at what, whether it's October to October and taken in that, it's a 12-month, whatever the CPI index is on that average over that.
So it could be another 2 or 3% every year, possibly.
Yes, I believe this year was 0.75 or what they have here for the month of February, so it's substantially low for this 2013.
So in the previous contract, every year they went up the cost of living, and now they've jumped it up 3% over and above the cost of living increases we've already allowed them to have.
Go ahead.
There is, like, things have changed since the last contract too, Don. We're into the drinking water quality management standards, and there's a lot more administration to it. There's, as I mentioned here, there's internal and external audits, and there's a lot more recording to do that wasn't there when we had the 2008 contract signed, so it's made for a lot more administration work on their side. So.
Another program that's destined to run out of money someday.
As they all will. If they continue on with this, there will be an adjustment someplace. Mark, Councillor Repke?
Yeah, do we have to renew? So if we say we renew for, I'm sure you've got a bylaw coming, but so if we renew for 5 years, what does that mean, Ken? Like, is there an option between, or are we locked in for the next 5 years, and is the cost locked in, or are we saying it's open to incremental upcharges?
The cost is locked in, but I believe there is an out clause for either party to, with a year's notice, yes.
Okay, okay, no, good, thanks.
Okay. And as I said, that'll be coming forward as a bylaw at the next meeting. All right, the next one, Ken, I believe, is on an aggregate. This is something very new in West Grey, a gravel pit. Basically, it's a transfer, the gravel pit, Markdale Quality Aggregates, the pit on 23 and County Road 12 on the southeast corner, across from the municipal pit, basically, on the west side. There's a new company, Timber Markdale Resources, has purchased the pit and is going to be operating it. And it's just a transfer agreement. And I believe in that, probably coming forward, they'll be wanting to negotiate. There was an agreement in there to do some road work, extraction, and Ken and I have met with the proposed purchasers of the, and once they get all of the purchasing done on it, they will be coming to us probably to ask for a couple of amendments on that agreement to redo the road up there, take the road down a bit. It's not as much of not doing it, it's just a different company coming in and maybe a couple of different cost-effective ways and more safe way of doing the project. there at that. So that's what this one is about. Don?
Is there any indication of timelines that they're going to actually start digging into the road, building the detour road, or is that just hanging out there?
This new company, I believe, the deal closes later this month, so as Mayor Eccles has stated, we did meet with them Friday, and we did have a very positive meeting with them. They're a well-established operation from what we can take of it, and I expect once they take over and their aggregate supply diminishes in the pit, they will move forward with this. I would expect in the next 2 years. I think it'll move very quickly when they do start too. It sounds like they're very aggressive in their gravel sales, so I think things actually have improved maybe with this sale from West Grey standpoint.
Are they going to be paying 30 cents a ton for the gravel that's on their property in the setback?
I would be between them and the owner of the property, Don. You're talking about our side of the road or the handy pit side of the road?
Well, I'm only assuming here that the McKay, there's a gravel that's left in the setback between our municipal road allowance and the McKay pit. So Mrs. McKay will get the 30 cents a ton for that gravel that's in that area. But if on the other side of the road in their pit, if we weren't given the permission to take the road out or lower it down, then that gravel will be trapped there indefinitely. So I'm just wondering who's getting the money for that. No, they'll be getting the money for that. Okay.
Okay, any other questions on this one? Bev?
Do we have a bond or anything?
Can Carol turn your mic on?
Did we have a bond or anything with Markdale Quality Aggregates for the removal of that and reshaping the road? And
Once the first bucket of gravel comes out of the road allowance or the setbacks, there is a bond that has to be received here at the office before any work can take place. I believe
that is going to be transferred over to the new company?
they're well aware of the contract we have between West Grey and Pitt. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. What you're asking? Did we have a bond? No. It's when before they were to start the work, they were going to give us a notification, and the bond had to be posted. So there isn't a bond posted, but
there was what going to be?
There would be, yeah, and that would be in the. If we go forward, if they're going forward with an amended agreement, there would be as well too. And that was discussed the other day. Preliminarily, okay. There's no other questions then on the MQA pit. Move on. Connecting Link program. Notification from MTO that we received the other day, and I guess basically what it comes down to is that if we want to do any work on the Connecting Link inside our urban areas, apply for the lottery funding program, not the guaranteed program that we've been more accustomed to. Would you say that was correct, Mr. Gould?
Yes, I believe you've read it right, Mayor Eccles, but we have been in contact with the MTO previously here. The bridge crossing the Saugeen there at the foot of the steep hill in Durham requires some work on the deck, and they've kept putting us off, and now we get this letter. So I'm just wondering if we put a load limit sign up there, how long it would take for the MTO to respond.
It's not quite our bridge, but we have been known to inspect bridges that are not ours in the past. And maybe we'll put that on our bridge inspection and do that and see how quickly the response comes.
Well, we still have to inspect that bridge biannually, but I'm not sure if with that letter whether it means that it's one of our bridges now.
may be a question at the end of the month when we find out who the new Minister of Transportation is and propose that to them. We'll try that. Okay. Don, Councillor Marshall.
I guess since it was on their list of things to do in the last 3 or 4 years, that maybe we should be a little aggressive here, and if they are going to download this bridge to us, that we should be saying, well, we're not going to take it the way it is, we want it upgraded to some kind of a standard, and then reluctantly accept it, I guess, if that has to happen. But shouldn't maybe just sit back here and wait for things to unload in front of us.
I think you're very correct in saying that, Don, in the direction, and we'll maybe ask staff to formally, before we start trying to corral the minister at the Good Roads Roma Convention, that we send a letter off saying that this was a program that was on the schedule before the change in funding happened, and we expect participation at 100% on the bridge deck coming from MTO, our great working partner. So are we fine with having staff prepare that letter and send it off? Very good. Thanks, Ken. Any other question? Sorry, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Bell.
It's another
John?
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ken, I think there was a payment made for a bridge in the vouchers, if I remember correctly. Can you comment on the timeline of when the bridge is going in on the 2nd of Normandy?
Yes, there was a partial payment made for the bridge for engineering and permits and whatever. He's looking at March to install that bridge. They're currently working on it at his site in Stratford, and he's hoping to be ready to go here in March, so it's going to be a quick turnaround.
I did have 2 calls on the weekend by some concerned people in that lower part of the world that were very concerned how they were going to get across to their properties, because I think the message that came through the paper from Mount Forest wasn't exactly correct in their assumptions.
Yes, I believe Councillor Thompson also had a couple of calls, and I've had one, I never read the write-up in the Mount Forest Confederate, but I guess certainly the lady that I talked to is quite happy with the result of what happened, so I'm sure the word will get out there.
Yeah, I'm sure that.
Have we, this is more on a bit of a lighter side, we've been referring to that as the Milligan Bridge. Apparently we're from some historians down in that area, it's not the Milligan Bridge. I haven't exactly found out what it is called, but we can change that when we know for sure what the locals, the historical people in that area note the bridge as being the name of it.
Yes, I found out Friday it wasn't supposed to be the Milligan Bridge, but it was the White Bridge. Apparently the concrete was very white back in 1920 when the bridge was put in, but with the new structure that'll be in place shortly, it'll be more of a gray color, so I'm not sure what the new name will be.
Okay, very good. And Ken, do you have an update on us for us on the Frazzle Ice concerns in Durham and what's happened over the weekend?
Yes, Friday afternoon we noticed through Steve Earhart here in Durham and myself that the ice was starting to back up in Durham in behind the ball diamonds. So we contacted the local contractor to plug in some of his equipment for Saturday just in case things worsened, and they certainly did. So Saturday morning we started with 3 high hose working at the site in there, and things looked not too bad. Saturday night after they'd worked till about 8 o'clock, so we shut them down. Then Sunday morning went back in there and looked again, and anything we done Saturday was lost. It was was actually a little bit worse, so they started back up Sunday, and with 3, and around noon we increased it to 4, then later in the afternoon we increased it to 5, and so there's 5, and they worked all night last night, and they didn't really gain anything, just held their own, and we've also had to bring in a dozer to push the snow back away from the high hose so they can keep baling ice. Saturday afternoon, with the help of the Conservation Authority and Steve and his staff, they managed to get the boards back in at the upper dam, but with the high flows of water, it just seems to doesn't seem to be slowing the frazzled ice down. So we talked with some of the conservation staff again this morning, and they suggested that we could get the, I guess it'd be the north part of the upper dam opened up. There's a ice blockage in there that would lower the river another 3 or 4 inches. So, but you need a long boom on a high hoe to reach out there. So this morning I called Harold Sutherland, and he has one of those extend a hose with the 60-foot boom on it. So he's headed over to Clarksburg. They've had the same problem over there, but it's coming in this afternoon and take that ice out of that one section of the upper dam, and we're hoping we can get the water a little bit lower and see if we can relieve ourselves of this problem we have.
This isn't the first time. About 2 weeks ago we had certainly had frazzle ice, but the boards were in at that point in time, and it did work back the frazzle ice, matter of fact, back to right back out to our public works sheds out on Baptist Church Road, which is, as the river flows, probably 7 or 8 miles back into Gunnell was where it was backing up at that point in time, but kept the water flowing in Durham. So hopefully that will be the solution at this point in time, to be able to get the river down and alleviate the problem and stop the burning of diesel fuel down at Moffat's Hole. Any other questions or comments on this? Seem to that we can take the alarm away. We're not losing ground. The water's not coming up any further down at the lower end of town. So, as I said, we're not gaining, but we're not losing. So if we're holding our own, that's good, and the water should. And we do have the weather forecast coming. If it warms up a bit, the frazzle ice will stop Wednesday or Thursday. From the last I looked at the extended forecast, where we'd be back up to above freezing, and then that would eliminate the frazzle from forming. So always something to be very wary of, and conditions that we have. Okay. All right, Ken, thank you very much for that. And if there's no other questions of Ken at this point in time, get back to the ice situation and all the rest of the situations out there. Guess we're down then. Sorry, moving on too quickly. We have the CEO's report. Christine? And I'll turn it over to you. Christine, with your report on the licensing of the municipal facilities.
Thank you, Your Worship. We do have, the first item is the consideration of the permanent liquor license. As you'll recall from the January 28th Committee of the Whole meeting, the committee did make a recommendation to stay status quo. So that would mean ultimately that at this point, should council approve it, that our facilities run with special occasion permits, and it would be up to the renter, if they're serving alcohol, to get that special occasion permit. So I'm looking to council to approve the Committee of the Whole recommendation.
And I believe I do have the motion here. I have it moved by David Mollison and seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby maintains the status quo for municipal alcohol licensing as noted in option 1 of the CAO report, Committee of the Whole 01-2813, as recommended by Committee of the Whole. Is there any further questions, comments on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. Okay, thank you, Christine. Any comments or questions of our CEO at this time? Oh, I'm sorry. Does the CEO have one more item on her?
Yes, Your
Sorry,
Worship.
Christine.
We'll just move along on
Go
the
ahead.
report. The next item is pay grid review. Council will recall during 2013 budget deliberations, we did discuss whether this would be the appropriate time to take a look at the existing grid, which is representative of 8 steps on the grid, and whether it is the appropriate time to go to market and do a market assessment in terms of salaries currently within the municipality. We do have in the 2012 reserve $5,000. Council put that away in the event that we do go by way of consultant. 2013, we have an operating or expense of $5,000, and that again is if council chooses to go by way of consultant. At this point, what we'd be looking at is perhaps just doing an in-house staff review. We certainly have the expertise from our finance department staff and payroll staff that could do a quick review of market assessment, what's out there in Grey and Bruce, and if council determined to go beyond the Grey Bruce border, we certainly could achieve that, and also look at shrinking our grid from 8 to perhaps 5. That, I believe, is just a mathematical exercise at this point. So with that in mind, we would be looking at perhaps option A. There's 2 presented for you. Option A is a working group of staff and provide the data back to Committee of the Whole for council sitting as Committee of the Whole's analysis and further direction. Option B provides an example of a committee comprised of staff and perhaps a member of council.
Well, I appreciate this being brought forward, but I really, honestly, truly think that council should be involved in the process, and I would like to see a couple members of council maybe on that committee, and I would suggest that the mayor, with his, I guess, shall we say, experience as far as county matters go and is in tune with HR at the county, and I was wondering if Councillor Rapke would also go on that committee too, and that would mean a, shall we say, a smooth process, because then council could be both updated and would be represented, and I can see a lot of questions being answered without having to bring a report back to the Committee of the Whole and then jostling it and going back and forth. So I would like to see council be involved in the process.
You're suggesting option B instead of option A.
I'm suggesting option B, yeah. With
Okay.
yourself and maybe Councillor Rapke, if he would go on that committee also.
Okay, any further comments? You're not going to comment on how well the deputy mayor just railroaded you and I, Mr. Rapke, into this?
On a council, no.
There's been nobody speak against that idea, so.
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah. It's 2 against 7, so the odds aren't that great here. Any other thoughts, comments on it? I think that this is the preliminary stage, working on this and bringing the options, whether we need to bring somebody in to do the pay equity or look at it even going further than what it is at this point in time. So my feeling that council's looking at it going on option B and taking Mr. Bell's diligent direction. Okay. So do we have that recommendation there, Mark? That we can... I would say it'd be more like a working group. Yeah, committee, I'm not really that keen on that. Just as a working group. that we could have. We don't need to do it by recommendation. If we can do it as a working group, have it in the minutes, the working group, work with staff. Councillor Rapke says that he's going to be there all the time, and I'll fill in when I can. Oh, I think it should be 2 or 3 get together, and we'll know the exact direction that we're heading at that point in time. So just take a couple of times. All right, we'll just leave that in the. Then we'll go with option B with Mayor and Councillor Rapke. And Christine, I'll leave it to you. I'm thinking probably be Carrie and yourself.
Yes, and I'd also like to include Heather, who deals directly with the payroll, but that will encompass a very good working group, Your Worship.
Fine.
Thank you.
Councillor Lawrence, Carol?
Mr. Mayor, I wonder if we shouldn't name an alternative council member. Sometimes Mark is tied up, can't make meetings with his work, and you're tied up. I'd like to suggest that we name an alternate in case they can't come, and I'd like to suggest Rob Thompson.
If you're going to speak, turn your mic on, please.
Meetings are only on Fridays in the summer. You're okay.
Okay, that'll be fine. Yeah. Yeah, I can help Mark out there because I know he's swamped.
Okay. Thank you. That's good. All right. And the last one then, Christine, we'll go with that. The last one going forward would be the addendum to the accessibility plan, which is submitted each year. We're part of the county overall accessibility standard committee.
There's another page. There's 2 more.
Yeah. So we have this one as here. Any, I believe we'll do this one by motion, which I have. Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
Thank you. On the first page, the Newstead branch, I'm not just too sure what that's saying about the washrooms. We did put a new washroom in there, accessible, within the last couple of years on the main floor. So that needs to be checked out. And also Normanby branch, it's saying the school location. That, of course, is in the new location in the old municipal office. And Newstead Arena, it says no auto door openers. We do have door opener on the front door. It was installed when we did the washrooms, which is about, what, 2 years ago? And there are handicap parking spots at Newstead as well, at the arena.
Thank you, Worship. Well, we appreciate Council's comments. The Building Services Department staff conducted a review last year as well as this year in the expectation of making this a very current appendix to the overall Grey County Accessibility Plan. Certainly it's before Council for any other revisions or errors or omissions, so we certainly appreciate Council's input. It will be corrected. We'll do a review again with the Building Services Department, but certainly any comments for revisions is very much appreciated.
So could I suggest the mover and seconder, Councillor Marshall or Councillor Eccles, that we put as amended for submission with those? Okay. When I introduce the motion. All right, I'm going to introduce the motion with that, if there's no other comments on it. I have a motion moved by Don B. Marshall and seconded by John Eccles. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves Appendix H, the Municipality of West Grey Addendum to the Grey County Accessibility Plan, and that the appendix be forwarded to the Grey County for inclusion in the overall Grey County Accessibility Plan as amended. And I'll leave that, Christine, for yourself to amend with those amendments that Councillor Lawrence had mentioned, and any other ones that the Building Department finds as we move forward. Okay? No other questions then? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That would be carried. And the last one, Christine, is your action plan monthly update on the report.
If I could just step
Okay.
one step backwards, Your Worship, we do have an amendment to the listing agreement for Darnock Hall. Would you be inclined to deal with that one?
Better deal with that one. We better keep them in, numerical order.
Thank
I
you.
went from 3 to 5 there. Thank you for catching me and forgetting about 4.
No problem.
Number 4, yes.
This particular item deals with the Dornoch Hall listing. We currently have it under Wilford McAtee and Company out of the Durham office. The listing goes until, the current listing goes till February 25th, but we're putting it before council. At this point, staff is recommending that we do amend the listing agreement so that we have an extension on the expiry for services with McAtee to August 31st, 2013. So I would just be looking for council's concurrence in this. I can tell you that there has not been a showing since Christmas. It was rather active prior to Christmas, but from Christmas forward there hasn't. So certainly being on TV, I'm hoping that there's somebody that would be most likely to take a look at that really wonderful little hall.
Any comments on it? Carol?
I'd just like to verify that the listing is still with Glen Ray.
Absolutely,
Fine,
Councillor.
so I don't have a conflict then.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, Don?
Just wondered if there's been any feedback on why somebody hasn't put an offer in, if it's been because of the well situation or the price is too high, or any feedback from that?
Thank you for that opportunity. We haven't received any negative feedback. Quite frankly, we came extremely close, as you'll recall, to having an offer in place. So we would look forward to another offer being right through to the success of purchasing. But in terms of negative feedback, we haven't at this point received it on pricing or the like.
Okay. If there's no other questions, I'm going to introduce a motion then. Moved by Bev Cutting and seconded by Mark Rapke. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the extension of the listing agreement until August 31st, 2013 with Wilford McAtee and Company Limited Brokerage, Durham. And I'm going to put in there Glen Ray for the Dornoch Hall listing. Any questions, comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. And then the last item, Christine, you have is the West Grey Action, the item plan. Staff provides a status report going forward on various projects. Any questions or comments on that, of where we're at? Gives us an update where things are and where we can expect to see stuff, reports coming forward. Okay. Any other questions for Christine? Don't see any. Thank you very much, Mrs. Robinson. Then that brings us down to bylaws. And Mark, I believe we have 5 bylaws here this morning, which we're into afternoon now. We're still not that far behind. First bylaw, bylaw number 12, is moved by John Eccles and seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 12, 2013, being a bylaw to enter into a household hazardous waste program municipal participation agreement with the City of Owen Sound for 2013, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Is there any questions or comments on this bylaw? Councillor Cunning, Bev.
Will this be posted on our website so that it's out to the public as to when the dates are?
Yes, absolutely. The bylaw will certainly be posted on our website, but we will also make a special notification. I'm anticipating it'll be on the front page or the home page of the website to make it very clear. We also will ensure that it is in West Grey News and information at your fingertips, which folks do receive via BlackBerry and any other cellular device if they're a subscriber.
Okay, fine. If there's no other questions, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Next one I have is bylaw number 13. It is moved by Carol Lawrence, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 13, 2013, being a bylaw to enter into a municipal capital facilities agreement on the premises owned and operated by the Durham Art Gallery, rescinds bylaw number 6, 2013, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this bylaw? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Declare that carried. There, Mark. The next one is bylaw number 14, moved by John A. Bell, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that bylaw number 14, 2013, being a bylaw to enter into a municipal capital facilities agreement on the premises owned and operated by the Durham Curling Club, rescinds bylaw number 7, 2013, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Is there any questions or comments on this one? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Bylaw number 15. I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence and seconded by David Mollison. Be it resolved that bylaw number 15, 2013, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2, 2013, being a bylaw to appoint officials and citizens to various committees, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Is there any questions or comments on this bylaw? Mark?
Might be 2012. I'll have to check that.
You're not certain that that's 2013?
It's 2012.
I thought we just had it.
Okay, might be 2, sorry.
I'm pretty sure it's
Okay.
2000.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yep, okay. With that clarification, no other questions, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And we have bylaw number 16. The bylaw has been moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that bylaw number 16, 2013, being a bylaw to enter into an assignment and transfer agreement between 2268 319 Ontario Inc., Timber Markdale Resources Inc., and the Municipality of West Grey be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this bylaw? Councillor Marshall. Don?
Just a question, if you know it, Kevin. It says in here that they operate other pits in the area. I've never heard that name before.
And I think by saying in the area, it's certainly not in Grey County. from what I understand, they're operating a pit in Dufferin. And at least one, if I'm not mistaken, 2 pits in Dufferin County that they operate. So their description of an area is a little bit different than what ours is. Interesting, what they were talking about was that, you know, in the GTA, they talked about a 50 and then it's 75, and now they're looking at a 125 kilometer radius of product going into the GTA. But then further, go ahead, Don.
I just see in his letter he wants to take us all to Australia, so his area is very big.
Yes, I did see that part too, but thought it was a little bit tongue-in-cheek. Okay. Any other comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. That's it for bylaws, Mark. Okay. So that will move us down then to new business. Is there any new business? I'll bring that up now. You want to bring that bill? Yes.
Sorry, I was waiting on you to do that.
I'm looking at you to do it.
Mr. Mayor, I am requesting that a building committee be named for the library. We need to be working on that in conjunction with fundraising at a parallel, I guess. It has to be finished by March 14, which is like 13 months. So I'd like to suggest that we name a building committee. And from the library board, I would suggest Steve Field, who is an engineer in his own right and has been involved in this project since it started. And I have spoken to these people. Richard Valentine, who is our vice chair, and as an alternate to Richard, our chair, Tim Dick. Tim would like to do that, be on the committee, but with his business he's not able, so he would act as an alternate. I'd like to suggest, and I mean, this is up to council, but I'd suggest Bev Cutting from council, who was a library board member, as a matter of fact, when she was with Glenelg Council, and uses the library, has good knowledge of it. Myself as a council rep, and Brian Marcel, I'm sorry, and as a public appointment, Bev Plume. Again, Bev has extensive knowledge and was most helpful on all our other projects, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Bev. He's in Florida, but I will call him. But I'm sure that he'd be quite happy to assist us in that. He likes that kind of work. And as you know, he was project manager for the Mount Forest Arena complex, so he certainly has the knowledge. And as a resource here, Brian Marcel, and resource from the library, the acting CEO, regardless of who it is. It's we're in the process right now of hiring, but it would, if we name just the acting CEO, not by name, that would catch. Now, I don't know if that's all right with council, but it would let us, we do have preliminary plans, but they need to be gone over. They need to see if they're suitable, if we want things changed, and then get the architect working on the working drawings. We do have those preliminary plans. But
with the timing that, with the grant that we have and the timing that it needs to be completed, I think it's imperative that we have a committee get started and going on that, so we can get some of those tender documents out in a good, efficient time manner for this construction season coming up in 2013. So that would be a notice of motion to be introduced here. I think we have one other one as well too. But is there any other comments or questions at this time under new business on this item? Okay. Then if there's Nothing else under new business. Addendums? Don't believe we have any. Mark, notice of motion or direct motion, we have 2. Our Director of Finance had 1, and Councillor Lawrence has just put another one forward right now. So we have 2 direct motions. I'll need a 2/3 majority to introduce those direct motions. All those in favor of introducing the 2 motions? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, so we have 2.
Kim Priestman, they would just be resources. They would be
Yes.
listed in the committee, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I don't think we need them under, no, don't need to be under that committee. That's the one that Kerry had for the Durham girls. Mm-hmm. Struggling with it too, but politically sometimes we do those things. Okay, the first one I have was the one presented by our finance director. So it's moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves a grant of $500 in 2013 and 2014 with a third-year limited option to the Durham Girls Alumni Band as recommended by the Committee of the Whole. Any questions or comments on the motion? Councillor Eccles. John.
I'd like to start off by saying that in no way is my comments reflect on the Durham Girls. I think it's a wonderful organization. I think it's a wonderful institution, and we should find ways to support it, but I really don't think that we should be financially supporting them. There's been a lot of groups come here, from people with sick children to sports teams and whatnot, and we've said no to them. And I just can't support putting tax dollars into the Durham Girls.
Okay. Thank you for your clarification. Any other comments? Very good. I have the motion. It's been read and on the floor. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Very good.
Note that I put in the expansion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the second one, I have a motion moved by Carol Lawrence and seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby appoints the following individuals to the Durham Public Library Building Expansion Committee: Steve Field, Richard Ballantyne, Tim Dick, alternate; Bev Cutting, Council Rep Bev Plume, citizen appointment, and Carol Lawrence, Council Rep. Any questions or comments on the motion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, thank you. Closed session. I don't believe we have any other matters in closed session. Mark? Question period. At this point in time, we always ask anybody from the audience, it's your chance to have a question of anything that was on the agenda, on the agenda for council. We must have done everything properly. There is nobody going to ask any questions of us today. Municipal Act notices, Mark, I don't believe we have any.
Just a reminder of the public meeting for this great TV. It's going to be during the council meeting.
Oh, do you want to make that? Yeah. We do have an announcement. It's not necessarily a Municipal Act notice, but a public meeting. Go ahead.
Just a reminder that there will be a public meeting during the February 18th council meeting, starting at just after 7 p.m. regarding the West Grey ATV Club's proposed use of some unopened road allowances in Glenelg Township. So that will be on a public meeting. Notices are going out in various formats.
Thank you, Mark. And motion number 20 is to adjourn. Councillor Mollison. Has that one already prepared? I'll accept that. We stand adjourned until next meeting on February 18th or before, if we have to call something in an emergency. Thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned. I hope not too.